I invite the Honorable Shri Sushil Chandra, the Chief Election Commissioner of India, to give his address.
Distinguished guests and dignitaries, Honorable Shri Arjun Ram Meghwal ji, Hon'ble MoS for Parliamentary Affairs and Chairman of the Jury Committee of Sansad Ratna Awards, all Sansad Ratna Award winners, winners of Sansad Vishisht Ratna and Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Award for Life Achievement, Mr. Veerappa Moili, Honorable Members of Parliament present today, Shri K. Srinivasan, Founder Chairman, Prime Point Foundation, Ms. Priyadashni Rahul and his team, colleagues and friends. I was going through the literature given to me by Prime Point Srinivasan ji and his team when they came over to invite me to Sansad Ratna Awards 2022. These awards were inspired by legendary Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam and his belief that parliamentarians could help realize the vision of transforming India. I'm quoting Dr. Kalam from a speech he delivered on July 24, 2009 at Institute of Parliamentary Affairs, Thiruvananthapuram. Quote, "Time has come for us to evolve the parliamentary system based on our past experiences and the present aspiration of our youth. In every action of Parliament, members over 550 million youth who are below 25 years of age would see in you the great leaders who can be their role models. We owe it to the voters to fulfill their expectations." It is the role model which the youth see in all of you. I must compliment Prime Point Foundation for institutionalizing the Sansad Ratna Awards. I congratulate all the distinguished parliamentarians who are recipients of Sansad Ratna Awards today. My greetings to all the distinguished guests at this prestigious event. Parliament may be best recognition that they would get, but it is recognition that comes only after 5 years and contingent on several other factors. Radical legislation in every sphere of life, whether it is abolition of untouchability, agrarian reforms, protecting the girl child, right to education, environment protection, civil liberties, personal laws, no sphere of life has remained untouched from continuous reforms. In this reference, I shall also quote Dr. Ambedkar. A quote, "What does social democracy mean? It means a way of life which recognizes liberty, equality, and fraternity as the principles of life. These principles of liberty, equality, and fraternity are not to be treated as separate items in a trinity. They form a union of trinity in the sense that to diverse one from the other is to defeat the very purpose of democracy." Dr. Ambedkar, unquote. I would like to mention about the good legislature. Legislature is a veritable instrument and institution for national development. It is the bulwark of any nation. The parliament of the world's largest democracy should be a model for the whole world and should adopt the best practices evolved in other countries as well. So the next question to ask is, what do we want the legislature to be like? We all would agree that legislatures will have to reinvent themselves in these times of dramatic changes. They will be heavily influenced by certain factors over which they have little control. That is technology, for instance, or social media or public health emergencies. The classical functions of a good legislature, in my understanding, are A, the inclusive legislature. This is the most important thing. A good legislature is truly and meaningfully representative. It must include diverse voices, especially of those who were marginalized earlier. This implies greater presence and participation of women in the parliament. As per data compiled by the Inter-Parliamentary Union, for the first time in 2021, the global average for women in parliament just exceeded 25%. The progress is painstakingly slow, and at this rate, it will take almost more than 50 years to achieve gender parity. In India, the first Lok Sabha had only 15 women MPs, The 17th Lok Sabha has 78 women MPs, but the progress is still slow. An enhanced representation of women in parliament can be achieved by the collective efforts of all of you who are present here. If you just see in local bodies, the constitution guarantees one-third reservation for women. It is heartening to note that so many grassroots women leaders have demonstrated their leadership and brought about visible change in their communities. So we will have to have a very inclusive parliament. We cannot be having any differentiation, and parliament is the true parliament will have to be very, very inclusive. Point number 2 is the role of parliament to engage and be responsive. The legislature has to be responsive to what citizens want, their expectations and aspirations. As parliamentarians representing a large population which has varying needs and demands, it is important for you to find ways and means to stay connected with the people. That is very important that certain MPs, just go after 5 years to meet their constituencies. Some are very regular to meet them. Because this I have seen during my election scenario that many persons have said that when we banned the rallies, then certain voters said, so the connection with the people is the most important thing, and we will have to stay connected with the people. You have a significant role to play in resolving conflicts, building consensus, and achieve best results. Citizens must get a sense that they are participating in the unfolding democracy, and it is up to you to give them that sense. See, while heated arguments, debates, and speeches are a barometer of a robust parliament, but frequent disruptions, walkout, hunger strikes are not. Time lost due to disruptions has seen a dramatic increase over the years, with some sessions being a complete washout. This does not augur well for the robust parliamentary democracy as ours. Participation in the parliament raising matters of critical importance by virtue of question hour and zero hour are established parliamentary practices. And this is the only way the people can get their voices heard and also make the government accountable, which is the basic role of any parliament. The precious opportunity should not be wasted by theatrics or slogan shouting or rushing to the well or even go out of the parliament. Dadabhai Naroji, the first Indian member of British Parliament, put it very succinctly, quote, "It is in the Parliament that our chief battle has to be fought, not the outside." I'll also mention about the role of standing committees. Standing committees form an integral part of Parliament's role in debate. They discuss laws and policies by analyzing them in depth. Additionally, standing committees provide a platform for MPs to track government expenditure, scrutinize policies and bills, and seek expert advice. Due to the untelevised nature of committee meetings, they are also used as a forum for consensus building among parties for controversial issues or contentious pieces of legislation. Having worked in government for more than 40 years, I have had multiple opportunities members of the various standing committees. And I think I must have gone maximum number of time in my life before the committee headed by Dr. Veerappa Moili. Members bring a wealth of experiences and inputs from the ground to these committees. Several laws which are obsolete are repealed, while others amended suitably by incorporating the suggestions of the standing committee. However, dwindling attendance in these committees is a cause of concern, and MPs must attend these committee meetings in a spirited and non-partisan manner. I am very glad that Sansad Ratna Awards have a special category for the committee, as they do a lot of hard work, which is silent and painstaking and largely goes unnoticed. Friends, the democracy is premised on the people of the country and all the institutions, whether it is the parliament or executive or the ECI. The focus is on the people, the common man, their dreams, aspirations, and expectations. It is only through regular elections, which are free, fair, representative parliament. It is ECI's constant endeavor that voters must be well informed so that the best candidates are chosen for the parliament or assembly who can represent them and work for them. ECI gives complete information about the candidates, their educational background, assets, liabilities, and criminal antecedents, if any. And the same is published on the website for the awareness of the voters, so that each and every voter can be well informed and exercise the choice with full information about the candidate. I'll just give an idea of the elections also. Just to give an idea of the long journey which we have traveled together with our voters on the path of democracy. When the first general election was conducted in 1951, there were only 17.3 voters. And the percentage of voting turnout was only 45.6%. And when the last Lok Sabha elections were held in 2019, the voters were something around 91 crore. The turnout was around 67%. And the best thing that the voter turnout of women was more than the men in the 17th Lok Sabha elections. As on today, there are more than 95.3 crore voters in this country, out of which 49 crore are male voters and 46 are female voters. And I'm sure with this growth of voters, by the time the next general elections will be held, we'll be crossing 1 billion voters in this country. Our endeavor has always been very participative, inclusive, and no person should be left behind. And in this endeavor, we have made our voters from the senior citizens above 80 plus. We have given heavy emphasis to them. The person with disabilities, which we forget. The Election Commission of India did extraordinary efforts in mapping the person with disability. And today, in our rolls, there are 81.3 lakh voters who are persons with disabilities. For women, for inclusion of women, we have done a lot of work as to how they should be included into the electoral rolls. There was a big challenge before the commission. But our officers, our BLOs have taken special pains to go to villages, to meet the women folks, to explain in their own languages as to how they can become voter. And in these elections which we held very recently, I'm happy to say that in UP alone, the gender ratio was increased by 29 points, which is a very, very high percentage, followed by various other states also, 24 points, 25 points. We wanted that each and every woman, each and every senior citizen, each and every person with disability should be absolutely inclusive in the voters list. Until unless each and every one is a part of voting process, how can we make a strengthen a democracy as such? For women, we put even 1,900 exclusive women polling booths in the various parts during these particular elections, which were totally managed by the women officers and women security personnel, which gives a sense of confidence to them and other women who can come very freely. And this has brought a lot of good results to us also. In these 5 elections, which we had very recently, the voter percentage of female in 4 states was more than the men, whether it was UP, whether it was Manipur, whether it was Goa, or Uttarakhand. The percentage of voter was much higher of women than the men, and they have shown a grit that they can come forward to cast their votes. So the situation has totally changed from the first elections, and our elections have been very, very inclusive, participative, and each and every society, each and every person has been free to cast their vote. So that has been our consistent efforts. But I always thought there are only 2 touch points with the Election Commission of a general man. That is, when the registration takes place, and second, when he comes to cast the vote at the polling booth. So for registration part, we have visited each and every house. And I will just narrate that when our persons went to enroll the ladies in the houses, then they said that my daughters are married. Why should she become a voter? When she will be married, she will go to her sasural, only then the vote will be made. So please don't make her voter here. So we had to convince them that we will transfer her vote to her sasural also, but please ask her to be enrolled as a voter, and we emphasize that the registration should be done. And that is why so many new things have come in our consideration as to how we should increase the voters' participation, especially the person with disabilities. If a child is, if a person is having a disability, even the family members, they don't want that should go out for the voting. We provided them wheelchairs, we provided them free conveyance facilities, we provided them volunteers, we provided them good, safe environment at the booth. Only then we could convince them that we will take your person, we will send at her home, but please give them chance to vote. They should not be deprived of the persons. And to my surprise, when we took a feedback, certain persons were beeping at the polling booth. That is the first time in our life that we have come to booth and this opportunity has been given to us to cast the vote. So that was our purpose, that the election should be absolutely in a good atmosphere. And our booth, I think you must have seen in TV, that many of our booths were fully decorated. They were in a mood to receive the persons. They were always, earlier the booths were very drab. So my point was always that when he comes to cast the vote, he should feel a very festive type of atmosphere. And we provided absolutely festive atmosphere with the result. So many things were taken into consideration. And with the result, I find that the voter turnout was also very good into all these elections. We have conducted around 11 elections during this pandemic. Many countries postponed their elections because of pandemic. But Election Commission of India said, no, we will provide all safety measures. We will take all safety protocols, but elections will be held. We do not want that any assembly, any parliament position should remain unrepresented by the people. For us, the mention which you have mentioned is most important than anybody else before the election commission. I'll just give you in the percentages that we have got in these 11 elections which we held during the pandemic, because especially this particular pandemic was a big challenge. And when we knew that the pandemic has suddenly come, third wave is coming. Though it was never decided, we thought that second wave is over, we can have our elections third wave very easily. But God demanded other way around, that you will have to be on your toes. So we thought that what should we do about it? We consulted all political parties. All political parties said we want elections. We should have elections across the lines, across the party line. So when there are extraordinary circumstances, the extraordinary solution will have to come. And initially, we banned all the rallies. It was never done earlier. We thought that when there is a pandemic, we'll go ahead for the elections. We banned the rallies, but we put a very graded system of examination. We were absolutely talking every week with the health secretaries, with the chief secretaries. As soon as the adopted by each and every one, they will find very hardly any election petitions on that particular ground. So we are providing one of the best election system in the world, and that is possible only because of your participation, the public participations and public enthusiasm into that. We also used this time the technology of empowering the public. Like we use the C-Vigil. This is a very important app, which I'll just mention, which empowers the public to report any malfunctioning in the electoral process to the commission. And it is our guarantee that within 100 minutes, we will reach to the spot, the corrective steps will be taken. I'm very happy to say that 47,000 complaints were received in these 5 elections on C-Vigil, and out of which 40,000 were found correct, and the commission took immediate steps on that. So ultimately, it is the public participation in the process, it's the empowerment of the public, empowerment of the common man, empowerment of a ground man who can simply say that something wrong is being there. Why are they putting poster on my wall? Why the freebies are being distributed? This is the setup. Simply they upload and our team reaches in 100 minutes. There's no need to take the name also. This has been a very important tool, so which I am just sharing that we could empower the public to this area. And simply I also put an app of a Know Your Candidate. This was an app. All the details of a candidate is there on that app. Each and everybody can see what is the qualification, what is the criminal antecedent, what is the assets and liability, and you can decide the way you like to decide to cast your vote. This year, the government has accepted the demand of the Election Commission, and 2 important reforms were done this year, which was pending for last several years. First was that a younger voter, the youngster, can put himself or herself registered 4 times in a year, which was there only once in a time. Because earlier the registration could be taken place only on the 1st of January, on which you are completing 18 years. If you are born on 2nd January, you will have to wait for 1 year to be enrolled as a voter. But this time we have got this act passed, and now in four opportunities a person can enroll as a registrar, which will definitely improve the participation of youngsters and the young voters, so that they can be a part of the democracy at a much earlier age. And second was the connection of the Aadhaar with the electoral roll, so that we can rectify and purify the electoral rolls, and no person should have a duplicate names into these particular rolls. These were pending for several years, but this time this could be got through, and so that our all electoral process can be strong. Friends, the pace at which the world is changing and the dynamic rising aspiration of the Indian people places a heavy responsibility upon all of us. Let us work towards making the life of every person better, more prosperous, and more meaningful. Let us strengthen and deepen democracy by all means at our command. I quote here the words of father of our nation, Mahatma Gandhi. Quote, democracy must in essence mean the art and science of mobilizing the entire physical, economical, and spiritual resources of all various sections of the people in the service of the common good of all. Unquote. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir.